So actually this term, the Buddha fields or the Pure Lands, is something that we should really think about very carefully. It's actually a very important to understand the Pure Land, actually. So because some people don't really believe in the Pure Land, so they say, some people say there are no real Pure Lands, and there is no past and future lives, and when we die, we just disappear. The human being is just like a flower that will wither again in the end. And so, on the other hand, we speak about the amazing qualities of a Pure Land. We say that in a Pure Land, you experience perfect bliss and happiness, and not even the name of suffering is known. For example, that's a line in the Zambala, summoning of good fortune and prayer that we always recite. So what is the cause of that? How to understand the existence of a Pure Land, we have to understand the cause. How does a Pure Land come into existence? So you have to really think about that very carefully and really analyze and think about it. How does a Pure Land exist? Does it or does it not exist? And if you analyze it, really think about it carefully, you can understand it with your own wisdom, your own intelligence. So how does a Pure Land come into existence? A Pure Land is the natural manifestation of love. For example, who made the Pure Land of Devachan? Buddha Amitabha made the Pure Land. But how did he make this Pure Land? How did he pay for this Pure Land? For example, in terms of having money and paying for things, and when we see somebody who is quite wealthy, then we say, oh, this person has a lot of merit. And it is true. It is also because in the last life they have accumulated at least some merit, and as a result of that merit, they now are rich. And that is just an ordinary merit. But if the merit is founded on bodhicitta, then you can see that if such a small merit can lead to such great wealth, then a merit that is founded on bodhicitta can create something great, like the Buddha Amitabha's Pure Land of Devachan. So it came from the Buddha Amitabha's aspiration. So first, before the Pure Land was created, the Buddha Amitabha made offerings to countless Buddhas in countless Pure Lands, and he supplicated them. And he said that up until now, there are only Pure Lands where exalted beings can take birth. Only those who have already attained at least the 8 bhumi can attain birth in those Pure Lands in existence. I wish there would be a Pure Land where ordinary sentient beings can be born, if they only pray. And the Buddhas, they praised his aspiration, and they said, such a Pure Land should really exist. May your aspiration come true. And then the Buddha Amitabha, before he was a Buddha, of course, he said that only if such a Pure Land is created, may I become a Buddha. If such a Pure Land is not created, then may I not become a Buddha. And so then, as a result of his bodhicitta and aspiration, the Pure Land of Devachan was created, and he became a Buddha. And so, therefore, we can see the Pure Land of Devachan is a manifestation of the Buddha Amitabha's bodhicitta, his great love. And love, bodhicitta, is something all beings possess, large beings and very small beings. For example, even a little animal, or all sentient beings possess bodhicitta to some extent. For example, we love our friends or our parents or our relatives and so on. We all have some love. Or, for example, an animal that possesses at least some love will have a beautiful appearance or a beautiful voice, and people will like that animal. And then animals who are more afflicted, whose emotions of anger and jealousy is stronger, then they appear in the less appealing forms. So again, we'll repeat these words by Jigten Sumgen and ask you to keep them in mind. So Jigten Sumgen said, cause and effect is the natural manifestation of one's moment-to-moment thoughts. So in this way, we can understand the quality of bodhicitta. It is because of that quality of love that some animals, for example, have a beautiful body and a beautiful voice, and people like them. So that's the quality of love and of bodhicitta. And there is love, from love arises what is appealing to others. And then people even want to keep those animals, and they care for these animals. So like some people care for these animals like they would for a person. And on the other hand, some people, even though they are human beings, precious human beings, are treated like animals, or worse, like animals. And so that is all due to karma, and whether or not bodhicitta has arisen in their mind. So the difference is made by karma, and karma really has love arisen or not. And so, for example, we can see there's a lot of suffering in the world. And even though it's in a way pervasive suffering, there are still so many people who are not affected by suffering at all. And they continue to enjoy perfect wealth and well-being in their personal lives, and physical health and mental happiness and so on. There are many people like that. And that is because they bring with them bodhicitta from previous lives. It is because in previous lives they have practiced generosity, ethical discipline, and patience. For example, if they have practiced generosity, as a result of that, now they are rich. If they have practiced ethical discipline, especially abandoning sexual misconduct, as a result of that, they now have a precious human body and experience physical health, so they are not sick. And then because they have practiced patience, they now have many friends, and they have a long life and a beautiful face, and so on. So all of these qualities of the higher realms come from generosity, ethical discipline, and patience. And that is this continuum of merit that goes into the next life. So even the slightest happiness that you experience in this life, in this world, has a cause, and that cause is bodhicitta, it is love. And the Buddhas have perfected it. And so therefore we speak about the 6 perfections, or the 6 paramitas. For example, the Buddha himself was able to give up everything, even his own body parts, his head and limbs and eyes, his child, his wife, and so on. So he had perfected the perfection, the paramita of generosity. So that is what we call paramita, or perfection. Or Chenrezig, for instance, and so forth, has given just a spoonful of food to an animal, but with a mind of love and compassion. And such a merit will never become wasted or spoiled. So that is what we call the perfect cause of merit. And these causes arise in very subtle forms, and they become perfected, like in the case of the Buddhas, and then they manifest as the 6 paramitas. And so when you think about the qualities of the 6 paramitas, all happiness arises from the 6 paramitas. And what really are the 6 paramitas? Their essence, their basis is really love and compassion. And as love and compassion grow stronger and stronger, then you can kind of intellectually, even logically understand as our happiness arises from love, and if love and compassion grow stronger and stronger, then it also makes sense that bodhicitta, when it becomes great, can create Pure Land, like Deva Chen. And so even though right now we might not be able to see it with our eyes, we can understand it logically with our intelligence. If you really think about the seeds that lead to such a Pure Land. And so the seed is within your own mind, it's your own bodhicitta, and that is your own love. For example, if 2 friends, like a couple, really love each other, even though they might be very poor and have nothing, but they will be very happy with each other. And that is because there is love. So if they experience happiness, then there is no need to mention the great bliss that is experienced when bodhicitta becomes powerful, becomes great. Then it does stand to reason that Pure Land perception can become created. And this is how all the limitless Pure Lands came about. So loving kindness and compassion, or bodhicitta, means that it is a mind that has cleared away all self-grasping. It is because of the self that we develop the 6 afflictive emotions. So self-grasping has become cleared away with an altruistic mind, and in this way the 6 afflictions then become the 6 paramitas. So the essence of the 6 paramitas is the altruistic mind. It is said, all suffering without exception comes from wishing for one's own happiness. The perfect Buddhas arise from the altruistic mind. So based on this understanding, you should analyze whether or not a Pure Land exists. There's no need to ask anyone a question about that. You can understand it by just looking at the seeds of a Pure Land present within your own mind. And that is the seed of bodhicitta. And now you understand the quality of bodhicitta. So you can understand that a Pure Land can become created. You will no longer think that, oh, there's no Pure Land, I can't see the Pure Land, I'm just such an evil person, and so on. If you look in your mind and you find this seed of love, which is there, of bodhicitta, then you can be certain there is no doubt that the Pure Land can become created. And we can see it all around us. We can see examples of that around us. For example, when we look at the animals, there are some animals who suffer a lot, and then other animals have it even better than human beings. And that's because there is a difference in the cause that they have created. The Buddha said that all phenomena arise from causes. It's very important that you think about that carefully, because if you think about it carefully, then real trust in that will arise. And only if you trust, if you believe in that, then only then will you want to make an aspiration prayer. Because some people, if they do not really trust, they might kind of hold a bit aloof views, thinking that I don't need Deva Chen because I'm already way beyond that. I'm practicing Dzogchen, or I'm practicing Mahamudra. I'm already beyond the Pure Land. I don't need to go to the Pure Land because I'm already in this high view of Dzogchen. But one who thinks in such a way, in such an aloof way, actually shows that they actually will not even be able to go to a Pure Land because they still have not let go of their self-clinging. And for as long as they have not let go of self-clinging, there is actually no way that they have really realized Dzogchen or Mahamudra. And so for this reason, until there is still this self, they do have a need to supplicate to go to the Pure Lands and to cultivate an altruistic mind, which is what creates the Pure Land. So the Pure Land is created by an altruistic mind. And so if you just understand that, then you can, without any doubt, decide that if I have that, then with 100% certainty, I can create a Pure Land. So now, Dharma friends, please take a break for 30 minutes.
因为刚刚在做这个为老康谦做口译，所以今天的这个仁波切的课程就比较晚开始，很抱歉。那这个前面没有翻到的部分，我会再上网去把它下载，然后再po到这个频道上面。那刚刚开始仁波切所讲的呢，是说一切的佛国净土，我们从我们在心里面应该去理解说什么叫做净土呢？或大或小。那在 它净土由何而来呢？有些人当然是不相信有这个净土的事情呢。那么他们认为就是这些有断见的人呢，认为的人生就好像花一样，花谢了就谢了，那并没有来世。那这种人当然是不相信净土，也不可能到净土的。那我们要去思维净土是从何而来的呢？我们应该对这个问题要很小心的反思，它到底是不是真的存在，存在的缘由是在哪里。我们要知道净土的存在，净土的来源是主要是用慈爱心的自然展现。我们现在所谓的对瓦茜，也就是极乐世界呢，它是阿弥陀佛过去他的发心菩提心而来的。那么它是怎么样造作的呢？它是有多少钱才能够造出这样子的一个净土呢？我们要知道有些人在这个世界上是非常有钱的，那我们讲说他是非常有福报，他有很多功德的，但是这种不过是世间的财产跟福报，是不可能跟这个净土是无关的。那么我们要知道，这个极乐世界要造成一个净土，当然需要很多的功德，一些福报的。那以极乐世界来讲呢，它主要是来自于阿弥陀佛在过去成佛之前，他向无量净土的无量佛陀祈求发愿的。他发什么愿呢？他说，我看到这些所有的净土呢，只有很多这个很少数的众生才能够往生，要很多地方很多净土还是八地菩萨以上的才能够去的。那如果将来我有可能的话，我愿意造就一个净土，这个净土呢是所有的众生不管他的修行的层次怎么样，也都能够往生的净土。那如果我能够有可能成就这样子的净土，愿我就能够证悟成佛。如果我没有办法成就这样子的净土的话，愿我就不成佛。那我们知道现在极乐世界已经在了，那阿弥陀佛也成佛了，这些都是来自他过去的菩提心，他的发愿。那么他愿他祈愿所有众生都能够往生他的极乐世界。那事实上一切的众生都有菩提心的，他无论大或小都是有的，所以这一点我们是应该要理解的。有些这个众生有美丽的外表或者是美丽的声音，这就是过去也来自于他们的这个菩提心。那么这个过去我要在这边，因为这个记忆很重要，所以在这边再提醒一次，吉天松公主是过去曾讲，因果是个人瞬间念头的成熟，这一点很重要，大家应该牢牢记住。吉天松公讲的这个我们可以在对照世界上我们的经验，有些人有许多美妙的声音跟外相，那别人看到或听到就很欢喜，这个都是来自于他们自己的慈爱心的，才展现出这些美福报这些功德的。或者是说我们看到一些可爱的动物呢，我们对它产生出爱心出来，这也是他们过去世的这个慈爱心菩提心展现出这一次受生成可爱的动物，那引发出我们这人类的这种慈爱心的。那当然有些动物呢相对而言也是会遭到一些就是人一看到就产生厌烦或厌弃的心也是有的。那这个世界上有许多的这个痛苦，但是在这么普遍的在当今世上有这么多普遍的痛苦，还是有人还是很享受健康富足安乐的生活。为什么呢？因为他们的慈爱心，他们过去所修的慈爱心，或许是修的布施持戒安忍等等。那么我们知道过，如果你修布施波罗蜜的话，那么它的果报就是富足。如果持戒的话，那就会获得这个人生，特别是在欲望欲念不邪淫的话，就能够获得人生的健康的身体。那么能够修安忍的话，你就是周围有许多的好朋友，长寿、外相较好等等。那么所以这个都是有 许许多多的能够做这个6度波罗蜜的话，那么行6度这个是会有很多的功德的。那么所以由此我们可以知道，这些功德是可以累积的。那么过去佛陀已经圆满了他的布施了，他甚至他为了救生，他不惜舍弃自己的生命这样子。那他这个布施已经圆满了。那么我们要知道这些功德呢，也是慢慢一点一滴的这样累积出来的。菩提心那个慢慢由小变大，也可以到最后也是可以化现成这个净土的，比如极乐世界一般。所以我们看到从这个过程当中，我们去行事，我们可以看到如何从一个种子慢慢展现演化成一个净土。主要是来自于菩提心跟慈爱心。如果2个人彼此之间有菩提心有慈爱心的话，即使他们很穷没有什么钱，对他们而言，他们看到彼此还是会有许多的快乐的时光的。那么这个菩提心确实是能够成就许多净土的这个原因。当我们有慈悲心的时候，这个慈悲心就可以对治我们自己的我执。当我们行利他行的时候，也可以对治我们的我执。那么我们有的这些利他之心的话，6种烦恼就可以被转化、被对治成6种菩提的。在佛子行37颂里面常提到的一点是，诸苦源于欲自乐，诸佛利他心所生，就是这样子的道理。净土的种子是什么呢？就是菩提心。如果说我们了知这一点呢，我们就知道说原来这些净土包括极乐世界都是从菩提心来的。当我们看到众生或者包括是动物在受苦的时候，即使是受生成同样的这个畜生道的这个动物的话，有些众生还是受生的过得很辛苦，但是有些众生虽然受生到畜生道，还是过得比人更舒适的这个生活，比如说成为有钱人家的宠物等等。所以呢，我们对这个因果这个道理应该能够了解，对于菩提心的作用也要能够了解，对此产生信心。那产生信心的话，就能够继续往这个目标前进。但是有些人讲说，如果有些人是对于净土没有信心的话，想说我不相信有这个净土这件事情，这种人是没有办法去到净土的。为什么呢？因为他们没有办法去掉我执。那么他们也不可能成就大手印或大圆满。所以我们在内心上，在修行上面来讲呢，我们内心上必须升起利他心，而才能够到达这个佛国净土。因为我们知道利他心是净土之因。所以现在先山上已经休息了，请各位也先暂时休息一下。好像山上的网路有点问题，我试试看。
내가 배워 자서 모두 로마 탐지가 털이 산지에서 집에 뭐 이제 저 탐지라 어자 털
I'm drinking milk tea. It's so
我现在在
delicious.
喝奶茶，非常
And
的美
I
味。
pray that all my disciples will have such a begging bowl that is filled
我
with
祈
milk
愿所
tea.
有的弟子都能够有这种70钵，而且里面充满的非常美味的奶茶。
你看这个送了多吧，这个准备送样的地家作业，这个结完那把拉地先生，准备送样的地家作业这了我不等前面这么那个，这看个东西，他就送了这里是啊，这里拉满了这了这里送了两个是吧，看个这里加冲到了，弄让一没吧，他们把他们这个个的大家多多给你，要么采用些人这里个的我不起码就能通过有的，这个我这个让一呢，我让一啥了这我当把这啥东西，这头就多把什么这个他送了这里，上街送了这里，他多年做过人，或者去他们多年做过那这里，上街送了这里，这里还好多。送的这个话讲了这里，这个结完，这米送要这地叫做这的，送的这叫做的呢，他去就碰过长尾巴上街干他们这个高有的，这地看了东大的这里，人都在港些讲送，上街上街做的这个什么的，这地方东大嘛过的，这里让给的，来给全给送，假如上送完呢。생기는 거 감당도 추적 걸로고 그요래. 근데 제가 추적 걸로도 사기의 송들이 제발 가려는데 늘 가려 가당 뉴모 봐도 늘이 뉴모 봐 늘이 봐 대화서 뒤 매발치는데 대화다 수남을 줘서 매발서 늘는데 늘라고 되면 내가 늘 탈토가 살이래. 이거 뭐 나지지, 나지지지, 늘 탐지가 탈토가. 나지지지 다시 봐대. 다 맞아봐 또 뭐래. 저양 늘 때지. 나오 남한테 늘 너도 그거가 토마미는니 내가 까봐 똥도 썩으면 마시는 까봐 똥은 나한테 잡아서 셔서고요 말이 나한테 받는 맛에 버려도 그게 유치해요 말이 마진이 동물들이 나한테 받은 거 때문에 막 세분대로 돈 다지니 맞아 나 맞아 이해 맞아 봐 하고 그 늘 돈이가 잡서 뭐보다 심해 늘 돈이가 동대 하고서 똑르면 잘들로 그래 지금 독라 용시나 배는 무차도 독치 버려야지 그래서 다른 지로 저기 무차도 제별로 독설기에서 어쨌든 민시 못 차요 그래 이렇게 쪽쪽 다시 해야지 통조고 차고요 그래 그러면 어째 도망갈 때 봤다도 소상들 넘로 그래 독치 버려 유모도 독 인장 사지 털어 개발했더니 민이들로 그래 애들이 독 탐지가 또 나지 이제 다음에 하고서는 돈 다 맞아봐 다시 받았더니 생기 살아나지 차 맞아봐도 돈이라지 그래서 돈 송교도 타기를 대봐 돈한테 사기 송겨 돈 거를 걔네들 사기 송 탐지 차라 탐지 냄바 이름 나는 만들면 좀 차라 탐지가 들고 보신 맞지도 그래 그것도 산초 생겨 잡고 그래 이 좋은 애들 동담 산초 생겨 그것도 산초 생때 책에 봐 이게 차오나 이 동담 산초 생겨 거 이메 봐도 어떻게 그래 그때 이시지 납치지 이시는 멘트 그래 대회는 들이 잠초에서 Som karena tini mincha moret.
Then next is the praise to the Buddha's speech, the Guru's speech. And the next page, so it says, with your flawless, melodious speech, like an ocean of ambrosia. So this flawless speech is that who has realized that who can show that all phenomena are unborn? How can we understand, how can we realize that the true nature of phenomena? It is through the teachings, the words of the Buddha, of the Guru. And it is said that the speech is related to the Sambhogakaya. So what's the Sambhogakaya? The Sambhogakaya appears just like a rainbow in the sky. It appears clearly, and yet it lacks any inherent existence. But to ordinary beings, the form that we see seems to be a solid thing. And for example, we see a Buddha form that is made of earth or gold and so on. We see things this way because of our belief in a concrete reality. And so the actual nature of the mind of all phenomena is clarity and emptiness. So the essence is empty, the nature is clear. And how can we understand that? How can we realize that? It is through the teachings, the words of the Buddha. Through the teachings, through understanding the teachings, we can realize emptiness. You can realize the true empty nature of all phenomena of samsara and nirvana. And then this term, an ocean of ambrosia, so the term for ambrosia is the tutsi in Tibetan, or nectar. And so what that refers to is that, then after that it says you defeat the Mount Meru of views. So there is this, like a vast, so coming back to the tutsi, there's this vast accumulation of Dharma teachings, of heaps of Dharma teachings that Buddha taught. So all of these teachings are the actual word of the Buddha. The Buddha himself had said, I taught the thousands of sutras or teachings and so forth in thousands of different worlds. And for example, just as it is said in the prayer for excellent conduct, he taught them in the various languages of the gods, the languages of the nagas, of the humans, and so forth. The Buddha turned the wheel of Dharma according to the mental capacities of the various sentient beings. And these words of the Buddha, that is the ambrosia or the nectar. So we mentioned the meaning of this term dutsi or nectar yesterday. We said that du means Mara or demon, and we said that the actual demon is the afflictive emotions. Because what we call a Mara or a demon is anything that destroys our happiness, that destroys our cause of merit. And then we have also said, what's the ultimate demon? The ultimate demon is our afflictive emotions, our self-grasping. It's the dualistic grasping at self and other. And the Buddha shows through his teachings that such a self does not actually exist. So first there is this Mara, this du, which is the grasping at a self. And it's because of this notion that there is a me and I that we have wandered in samsara since beginningless time. So it is said that the light, a single lamp flame, can illuminate the darkness of 1,000 aeons. So the lamp flame is to see that there is the seeing that there is no self. No amount of self or me can ever destroy the darkness of 1,000 aeons. For as long as this concept of me is present, the continuum of suffering will never be interrupted. And so then, however, when you look at this me, this so-called I, and you see its nature, you realize that it actually doesn't exist. There is no such a thing as a me. And when you understand that a self does not inherently exist, then you also understand that others do not inherently exist. So the du, which is the demon of self-grasping, then becomes kind of consecrated by the elixir, the ambrosia, which is the tea. Tea means like an elixir or an ambrosia, the elixir of emptiness. And so in this way, you are transforming what is poison into something that is medicinal, into an elixir. For example, there's this metal called mercury, which is actually a very powerful kind of metal, and actually part of it is also used in some of the precious pills, like the Rinchen Dr. Dashil, for example. And so the especially kind of, actually it's poisonous, mercury is poisonous, but it is to some amount, a small amount is mixed with the medicine, and then it is also sealed or consecrated with mantra and visualization and so on. And in this way, that is the skillful means that transforms that poison into a medicine. So that is the Buddha's skillful means of alchemy, of transforming what is toxic into something medicinal. And actually, that is the essence of all poison. It can actually become something medicinal. It has a medicinal kind of seed within it. And so for as long as it is just poison or the demon, it is self-grasping. But then when you realize that the self does not exist, then it becomes sealed with or kind of consecrated by this realization of emptiness. So emptiness is this understanding that the self does not exist. And then even though it doesn't exist, there still naturally is this clear mind. So this is what we call the unity of clarity and emptiness. And this unity actually dispels both extremes, both mistaken views. So in this way, you can understand the actual meaning of the Buddha's teachings. And so then the Buddha, all of the Buddha's teachings, whether they are elaborate or concise, they all are included within the two truths. And so for as long as individuals still grasp at a concrete reality and at their the concept in their mind, at this point they need to cultivate relative bodhicitta. And so these beings need to be first pervaded by relative bodhicitta, and then through the relative bodhicitta, the four immeasurables, then they realize the ultimate bodhicitta. They can realize the non-dual nature of the mind. And this is how the consciousness then matures into primordial wisdom, or the Mara then becomes this vast ocean of nectar. So it can be seen just like the transformation of poison into medicine.
这个叫没把它变成，这个叫没把这讲的。
那么这个接下来的寄颂是以障无垢妙音甘露海，揭露万法无生亦离矣。粉碎见地虚弥三王者，恭敬顶礼无碍金刚语。这是赞叹佛陀的身之后，再来赞叹佛陀之语，他的法教等。那这边所讲的呢，就是我们如何能够得知无生本质不生的这个道理呢？这都是要通过上师的法教。那我们知道上师的语也是一种报身的这种展现。那么他们就好像我们这虚空当中出现了彩虹一般，那么但只是凡夫常常会认为这些外界的形象，包括彩虹是具体的，可以抓住的这种事物，这个具象的这个事物事实。但是我们要了解到，一切事项的本质是清明的， 它在空性当中，它自己有着很清明的一部分。如果说我们能够了解这个法教的本意的话，那我们就知道一切轮回涅槃是合为一的。那这边讲到甘露海，就是我们在累积许多佛陀法教一堆一堆的这么多的法教的而成的。那么佛陀在过去曾经讲说，我在千万世界里面讲了数以千万计的这个讲演这个开示。那在这一点，在普贤行愿品里面也有讲到，他同时对天人、对龙族等等不同地方、不同族群的人呢，开始演说佛法。那么这个佛陀的法教在这边就是指的甘露，就是指的佛陀的法教。那我们昨天有提到说，甘露在藏文讲，甘露丸在藏文讲的是 du 的本身，昨天有提到就是魔，这些魔是从何而来的？主要是来自于我执。那究竟的魔是什么呢？就是我们对于二元的这种执着有自他的分别。那么这个 do 这个魔也只是由我而来的，在无始以来，就是因为这个让我们继续在轮回中流转。但是我们同时也讲到一句话，一灯照破千年暗，这个暗就是我执，但是我们只要长出智慧呢，就可以破坏这个，完全去除我执，到它没有任何踪迹可循。那我们要知道，执着的本身是不可能破这个黑暗的，但是当我们要透过智慧来检视我到底在哪里，我们知道说没有一个东西叫做我的，再把它推广出去，外在的一些万事万物也没有一个东西真正叫做那个东西的名相的，那真正不是真的实有的。那这种理解，这种智慧的生成就转化成这甘露药物。那么在有一个这个金属，我想应该是这个水银吧，它的英文没有听得很清楚。那么它是一个这个有毒的东西，它也是一个这个珍贵的宝矿物。可是在这个宝丸，这个尊者他们藏医院里面的一些 Rinchen 宝丸里面，却有少量的成分就是从这个水银来的。然后除了它之外呢，再加上这个咒语，如此就能够把毒药呢转化成一个对治病有帮助的这个药物，这就好像炼金术一样。所以我们要知道，就是我执是它本身是不是实有的，这个能够有这种理解，就是一种明空双融的一个状况。我们要用清明的心来去除对万事万物、外在万事万物的这种执着，一切的事物都包含在二谛当中，也就是世俗的相对谛跟究竟的圣义谛。那么以凡夫以世俗的也就是相对的菩提心为开始，慢慢那个修行累积功德，然后了知自心的这个本性，那么这个烦恼就会慢慢转成本初智，也这个魔或者是个毒药也能够慢慢转化成甘露。
And then it says here, you show all phenomena to be unborn. So it's unborn, regarding the unborn nature. And Nagarjuna has said that whatever arises is unarisen. There is nothing whatsoever that actually arises. Whatever arises due to independence on a cause or a condition. And for this reason, things are empty of self-nature. So things appear just like the waves on the ocean. So how does a wave appear on an ocean? The wave appears because a wind blows. And then we see the wave and we call it, oh, there is a wave on the ocean. And then when the wind is blowing really strong, then it can lead to a tsunami and flood a whole city. So it can become very powerful. So this wave can become really powerful. And this wind that blows into the water is an analogy of the afflictive emotions. So first there is a self, and because of seeing a self, we see other. And due to this dualistic perception of self and other, it steers the afflictive emotions in the mind. And then the steering then manifests the afflictions as a powerful wave on the ocean. That actually does not exist on its own. There is no separate wave. The wave just appears in dependence on a condition, which is the wind blowing. So ultimately, the nature of all phenomena is unborn. In the Heart Sutra, it says, it is unborn, unrisen, it is unceasing, it abides as the essence of space. So it is unarisen, it doesn't come from anywhere, and it is unceasing, it will never cease to be, the mind will never cease to be. And it is unabiding, so there is no location where it is right now. And yet it can never disappear. So its essence is like space. And Thigden Sumgön said in the 7 verses of supplication to Tara, the mind is so difficult to realize. It's so difficult to see the true nature of the mind, because we can't think of it in terms of there is something that exists, because it's like space. But then one also cannot cling to the idea of there is nothing, it's non-existent, because again the mind is the basis of all phenomena in samsara and nirvana. So it can neither said to be existing nor can it said to be non-existing. So the way to get to it is by thinking nothing. Because when we think in terms of existence and non-existence. So don't think of the mind in any way as either being this or that, or in an affirming or negating way. That is also called, now by those who have studied the scriptures, the view of the Madhyamaka, the middle way. And so there are many ways of explaining it according to the scriptures. Now, there are many ways of explaining the ultimate view or the nature of the mind, but in simple terms, you can look at your mind directly and see that it does not inherently exist. And there is something that's there that does not really inherently exist. It is something that is beyond any labeling. You can't really call it anything. So it is also said, for this reason, it is inexpressible. It cannot be expressed by words, nor can it be thought of by thoughts. One can't even think about it. So the nature of the mind is beyond any designation or a name or any kind of label. So even though you can't express it in any way, also, does that mean now, so if you can't really conceive it, does it mean that it doesn't exist? It doesn't mean that. It is that it does not exist because even the Buddhas have not seen it. But it doesn't not exist because it is the basis of samsara and nirvana. It transcends existence and non-existence. And so the best way to describe it or get to it is by thinking nothing. And in the Ganges Mahamudra, that is explained in one line where it says, without a single thought, decisively look at your true nature. So don't think anything and look directly at your mind. And that mind that you experience is sometimes also called the vipassana or the insight into the nature of the mind. But when you look at your mind directly and you see the mind, it becomes completely empty. It is like the emptiness goes into your heart. There is not a single thought, a single fixation in the mind. And so that must be habituated continuously. And finally, through habituation, you realize its nature. And what you have discovered is something that you can't really show to others. For example, it's like a mute person eating molasses. So the mute person can taste the sweetness of the molasses and can feel how good it tastes, but they cannot express it. They can't speak about it because they're mute. So they can't express how this feeling is, but they can still feel it. And so it's just like that when you see the mind. There is this taste, this experience, this feeling of bliss and emptiness that can't be expressed by any word. This primordial awareness. Primordial because it has been there since beginningless time. And awareness or wisdom because it knows everything. It has been always there, like space. Just like space is there now and it will always be there in the future. It will never disappear. And yet you can't really point your finger at space. So in a very simple terms, you just directly look at your mind. And according to the Ganges Mahamudra instruction, without a single thought, decisively look at your mind. So without any doubt, directly you look at your mind. And then it naturally becomes just like space. And then you just continue on within that space-like state, decisively, without any doubts about it, without any thought about it whatsoever. So actually, through the Ganges Mahamudra, the Ganges Mahamudra is actually an excellent way to really decide upon the nature of the mind. So without a single thought is without thinking about anything whatsoever. Even though there is not a single thought, the mind is completely clear and conscious. And all that is to be done is to continue on within that state until you completely realize the nature of the mind. So if you have seen it through such a personal experience, trust in it will arise. You will know certainly, with certainty, that this is it. And this knowledge arises also due to the Buddha's blessings. So this unborn nature of all phenomena here, the unborn nature of all phenomena is explained really extensively in the various scriptures and so forth, but they are all hard to understand and could be quite complex. And however, it can also be explained and understood in very simple terms. The best way to understand it is really that quote in the Ganges Mahamudra, where it says, without a single thought, decisively look at your true nature. So you look at your true nature without thinking, and the mind just on its own naturally becomes like space. And then there will be this moment where you know this is the true nature of the mind. You just know that. And the omniscient Longchen Rabcham had said, when you realize the nature of your mind, there is no higher learning than that, nothing more to learn than that. So even if someone might have studied the scriptures and so forth for 100 years, when they realize the nature of their mind, that is the greatest learning. There's nothing higher to know than the nature of the mind. And also we have mentioned what Milarepa had said about the unborn nature of the mind.
那么这个 龙树菩萨来讲说，没有一个东西是由真实升起的，一切的升起乃是众缘和合的，因为它是因缘生，所以是性空无自性的，因为它是无自性，所以是众缘和合缘起的。那么我们知道，举一个生活上的例子来讲呢，我们知道波浪是来自于海洋的，波浪是来自于海洋的。那么但是呢，这个到底是什么因素造成波浪的呢？主要是有风，如果风很强的话，自然也有可能这些浪呢就会变成海呢，就变成生成强大的海啸。所以在这边风就是比喻成我们的烦恼，因为由这个我的这种执着，我的这种概念而见到的他，见了我就有见到他，就如此就二元对立就升起了，而把内心的这个烦恼把它吹起来。那么这个也有可能因为这样子把海浪变得很可怕的。所以呢，这个我们要做的是回归到外相未生的状态。那心经里面也有提到这边的这样类似的讲法，那就是一切是没有安住之地的。那这个在吉天松公祖师所写的那个杜母七救父文也有讲到说，心性是很难理解的，很难见到的。我们要知道，心是一切轮回涅槃现象的这个根本，它不是具体存在那里让你可以抓得到的。那你要怎么样去见到心的本性呢？当你不去想它的时候，没有念头的状态之下，才有可能趋近它或看到它。就好像说这个读经教研习经教的学者来讲呢，他们比如说中观，那如果说我们自己直接去直观我们自心的时候，你就知道说没有一个东西叫做自心自性，它是超越任何的标签的，你没有办法用任何的语言文字来描述，所以说是离源泉的，它也是不思量的，可是它是不实存的。为什么说它不实存？连佛陀都没有办法见到它，可是我们同时也不能讲说它是不实存的，那因为它事项上却有轮回跟涅槃。所以在恒河大手印里面有一句口诀是很重要的，就是心中不要存有任何的念头，坚定的直视我们的内心本性。这是一种特别的观照的方法，是内观，直视我们的内心，那可以发现到它完全的净空，没有任何的一个念。那这一点是我们要好好的串习，能够去看，或许有机会能够看到我们的本性。那这个过程就有一点像一个聋哑的人，一个没有办法讲话的人士，他在吃这个蜜糖露，然后他知道吃起来是味是甘甜美好的，但是他没有办法来跟你描述。我们的心性也是一样的，它同时具有空乐的本质，但是我们没有办法指出来说，这个就是本性，那个就是本性，因为从无始以来它就在那里，它也不会去消融的，你没有办法用手指来指出来说它在这里或它在那里。我们唯一能够做的是直视我们的本心。那么这个当我们要直视探究心的本性的时候，我们恒河大手印是一个这个照见本心的一个很好的一个依据的一个文。我们的心的本质是完全清明的，用这一种来直视我们的本心来练习，那么透过佛陀的加持能够见得。当你见到心的本性的时候，你就知道说这就是它了。那么这个就是这个如果说真的要对心性有所了解的话，应该依循恒河大手印这一句话，无一念坚定的直视本心。那么 荣钦巴祖师在过去也有讲说，没有比这个直见本心心的本性更高的学习了。那么这个就是弥勒日巴祖师也有提到说未生之心。
How can we really gain certainty and really understand the unborn nature? To understand the unborn nature, we need to understand emptiness. And so how can we understand emptiness? It is through understanding the impermanent nature of all compounded phenomena. This is what the Buddha himself had said. Because if you tell sentient beings just plainly everything is empty, that alone will not help them eliminate their fixation to a concrete reality. The way to make them understand emptiness is by telling them things are impermanent. All compounded phenomena are impermanent. And when they understand that, then they will be able to understand emptiness. So for today, we stop the teachings here and continue with the Mani recitation.
In the Chenrezig Sadhana, the dissolution, on page 7.
那么在这边呢，我们讲说如何去知道这个未生的这个本质呢？就是这是长养我们这是要有空性，对空性有所理解。然后呢，万事在这个如何能够知道证得空性呢？首先我们必须要了知万事无常这种无常的这种性质。那这样子一步一步分来，那我们如果说知道这个见到众缘和的事情的话，就知道说它是没有自性的。那今天的法教就先到这边，继续来回到我们的仪轨这个消融的部分，也就是中文本的第6页。
吞在那觉让的让你将无觉热的对爱妹妹啊，见那要见着我就把那老样让你怕不个就
坐间观气情融于自身，自身化光入睡此一空，尽量安住静坐若其念，复佑自观即为观音尊。
Subsides into the natural state devoid of thoughts. I rest in it as long as it remains. When thoughts proliferate anew, I manifest again as the exalted Lord.
玛尼回向速证大乐文第7页。三世善世诸佛之法身，于诸六道众生观世音，犹如虚空遍满11面，威容无量光尊前顶礼。无比导师能人释迦顶，十方圣者大海佛子具，一切噶举上师供养云，六支真言精要愿升起。往昔诸佛圆满深密意，未来诸佛聚集之良语，现今一切诸事之平依，六字真言精要愿升起。因习所结父母师尊缘，希求而依亲属亦有众，祈请护主观音为引路，加持往生西方净乐国。因贪嗔痴三毒所生之，并邪敌恶所命魔部众，祈请护主观音为引路，加持往生西方极乐国。请求勿忘施主恩人语，言不忘之男女施主众，祈请护主观音为引路，加持往生西方极乐国。身口意依上师生众财，平依赎身信斋诸有情，祈请护主观音为引路，加持往生西方极乐国。罪行君臣百姓与恶人，心怀无耻狡诈恶念重，祈请护主观音为引路，加持往生西方极乐国。实不善于五种无间罪，作彼于吾进行诸有情，祈请护主观音为引路，加持往生西方极乐国。 手中给予回向祈请语，受取使者、食物诸亡灵，祈请护主观音为引路，加持往生西方极乐国。耳所闻与眼所见之时，世间一切亡者尽无余。祈请护主观音为引路，加持往生西方极乐国。无善无恶漂泊总因重，非时复时对时逆时等，祈请护主观音为引路，加持往生西方极乐国。犹如慈母牛之奶树者，以及饮血食肉之有情，祈请护主观音为引路，加持往生西方极乐国。不堪负载，其成其而打；不堪穿鼻，耕地犁田种。祈请护主观音为引路，加持往生西方极乐国。康藏山区阿里占布州，如是三州小州日下众，祈请护主观音为引路，加持往生西方极乐国。依止五大种而七习之，有色无色大小诸有情，祈请护主观音为引路，加持往生西方极乐国。地狱恶鬼畜生阿修罗，天狱人等三界有情众，祈请护主观音为引路，加持往生西方极乐国。横过十方无边地狱际，如是难以测之诸有情，祈请护主观音为引路，加持往生西方极乐国。
见得结玩现结了。
接下来金刚百字明。
Om Bhaja Sadhu Samaya Mana Balaya Bhaja Sadhu Deno Ba Tejandra Membava Sudha Kayo Membava Subhagayo Membava Anarado Membava Sarva Siddha Mambaya Sarva Karma Sudhane Siddham Yam Guru Hong Ha 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 Ho Bangaven Sarva Dadanga Dam Bhaja Mamemen Bhaja Bhava Ma Samaya Sadhu。
接下来是迎尊降佛，从红观音最后的部分。
Lama Rinzen Zava Sumje Toju Kor Tamje Jende Badar Jone Jin La Wang Grong Zhe Zor Yen Zhe Le Zhe Bar
自观天尊悉命弘中放光，劝请上师持名三根本之心相续，从而一切犹如云罩般降临后，赐予加持灌顶成就，并承办事业。
Gathered clouds, blessing, empowerment, and cities are bestowed, and activities are accomplished.
Home Free 清净离系，
Home free.
清净远离系论体性中，不灭大悲自力主极眷，降生语义加倍于此处，五智殊胜灌顶，请赐予。
Of your body, speech, and mind, and grant the five wisdoms supreme empowerment.
我们的美我人马嘎人的萨瓦萨玛呀。
明天早上没有其他的课程，所以一样可以9点就开播。加州时间9点，亚洲时间半夜12点。谢谢各位，嗡啊吽，嗡啊吽，嗡啊吽。谢谢各位，参加这个网上的这个法会。那你所累积的玛尼次数，请把它放在。如果说你已经超过累积操作1万次，你就可以到嘎千大内那边。那如果说你们中心、你们团体有累积更多的次数，可以把它 email 到那个嘎千佛学院去。谢谢大家。英文的部分下午加州时间，美国西岸时间3点第12座。谢谢各位，明天早上加州时间9点见。